afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the session 2 of SOVA-talks 2022. SOVA-talks series is an online talk series planned by MIT WPU School of Visual Arts. According to the tradition of MIT WPU, we will start the SOVA-talks introductory session with the World Peace Fair.
नमो जीयाद्या वेद प्रतिपाद्या जय जय स्वसंवेद्या आत्मरूपा देवा तूति गणेशु सकलार्थमतिप्रकाशु म्हणे निवृत्तिदासु अवधारि गोदी गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः।
Tanvi ma'am, you are not audible.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, all the students, faculty members, and all the guests who are attending today's session. There were some technical issues, so Sandeep Dighe sir has rejoined the meeting. So I would like to welcome everyone on behalf of Dr. Shruti Nigurkar, Head of School of Visual Arts. She is busy with some meetings, so she won't be able to attend right now. But on behalf of her, I welcome you, Sandeep Dighe sir, and for today's session at MIT School of Visual Arts. Isha, you can continue.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear students, teachers, and parents, let me take you to the mini virtual tour of MIT World Peace University. MIT World Peace University is known to be among the top educational institutes in India since the establishment of MIT Group of Institutes in 1983. MIT WPU has witnessed rapid growth, and at any given point in time, more than 50,000 students are pursuing various courses across 65 plus institutes of MIT World Peace University. School of Visual Arts is located in the heart of Pune City in the Kothur campus. This campus is accessible very conveniently from the bus, auto, or private vehicle. The metro line is 5 minutes walking distance from our campus as well. At School of Visual Arts, students are blessed with very learned faculty and have a curriculum which makes students industry ready. It's a privilege to be studying in such a natural environment. Now, I would like to invite our beloved faculty, Assistant Professor Tanvi Badrinath, to introduce the distinguished person.
Thank you so much, Isha. So today amongst us, we have Sandeep Dighe, who is a brand consultant, speaker, and futurist. Sandeep is a brand professional with 15 plus years of international experience working with some of the biggest brands in India, UK, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Canada, and Malaysia. He helps business leaders to transform their business by bringing strategic and creative thinking and solving their complex brand issues. He thrives on the idea that are distinctive, futuristic, and sustainable. His brand projects have won many global awards. Some of his clients include Reliance Jio, Life OK, Indian Super League, Star TV, Essel Oil, Sky, Candy Crush, Marketing Group, United Overseas Bank, Petronas, Hyundai, Australia Post, South 32, KPMG, National Australia Bank, and so on. Sandeep has an MBA and a master's in brand leadership from the University of East Anglia, UK, and has studied strategic management from the University of Cambridge. Today, after I posted this SOA Talk Creative on social media, there was somebody who just commented, and I would like to add that to Sandeep Dighe's introduction that that person said that Sandeep Dighe adds the brand to branding. So it's our pleasure to have Sandeep sir here for today's SOA Talk. And over to you, sir. You can begin with your presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Tami. Thanks a lot. I'll just share my presentation and then I'll start. Okay, is it visible? Perfect. Thank you so much for inviting me today over here. This session is basically really the introduction to what branding is. There are a lot of new students and the prospective students that were going to join MIT, and the current students who are actually studying their courses in whatever capacity, first year to third year. Today I'm just going to talk about the new age of branding. Today we are just talking about what branding is all about and how the branding is changing the world, and what can we learn from it, how does the future look like, kind of thing, you know. And I'm just going to take you through a few slides in terms of some examples and some case studies. It's going to be really much more fun rather than anything else. So if you have questions, please ask me during the session or later after the session, as there's a question answer session there, isn't it? So okay, fine. So you can ask me later on as well. So Tanvi has already introduced me, so I'll not give my background again to you. I'll just directly dive into what branding is all about. So there's always this question, what is brand? Because there are so many definitions of what brand is all about. There is so much of people saying different things, what branding is. Is it advertising? Is it marketing? Is it what we do in terms of communication? Is it about events? Is it about what we talk about? Is it about internally what is our culture? What exactly is brand? So I've kind of tried to make it easy for everybody to understand and get everybody on the same platform. Sorry, of what branding is. So the brand is an intangible asset of business that holds its reputation and perception in the minds of its customers. It's as simple as that. Sounds very simple, but it's a bit complex than that. Forget about the sentence that is written on the slide. Just imagine that brand is something that people think about you when they hear your name. For example, if there is a Google, if I say a brand called Google, if you think about Google, whatever you think about Google is the brand of Google. It's basically that. So basically what people think about your company, about your business is brand. That is what brand is, nothing else. And the stronger that perception is, the stronger that association is, the stronger the brand is. It's as simple as that. So let's go to the next slide. Is there a difference between branding and advertising? This is a very common question in India, especially we ask this question again and again. Is there a difference between branding and advertising? I come across many different businesses and many different CEOs I've worked with. And there is always this confusion between branding and advertising. A lot of people think advertising means branding and that is it. But branding actually is much bigger than what advertising is. Branding actually goes at the top of the business. It goes at the top in terms of what business is your brand, what your business is your brand. And below that then comes marketing, advertising, and many other PR events, and all other domains that we work across. So all of these tools like advertising, PR, marketing, market research, all of these are working towards creating brand, and that is called branding. So everything is working towards one goal, and that is creating one brand. That is what branding is all about. Branding is a big business. I'm sorry. Did I miss out something?
No, sir, you may continue.
Okay. So branding is a big business for about 100 years now. A lot of people are doing branding for almost more than 100 years. More than 12 lakh people are working in this domain all over the world just now at this current moment. So there are a lot of activity around branding which is happening. Why is it so important? Why is branding such an important thing? So once people asked Warren Buffett, what do you think of brand? Warren Buffett, one of the most richest person in the world. Once upon a time, he was the topmost richest. Now it's Elon Musk, of course, but Warren Buffett, who has kind of mastered the art of investing into different businesses. He was asked a question, what do you think of branding? He said, key brand lies is one of the most key factors of any business. And when I invest in any company, I always look at the brand. I'll look at the finance, I'll look at the financial gains of their profits and accounts and everything about the brand. But most importantly, I will look at what people think about this company, what the brand is of this company is all about. So it's very interesting that branding is such an important domain that such important people are talking about it. This guy, he is the second most richest person in the world just now, Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. He says that your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. Very interesting that you're the same thing which I also said a few minutes back, that what people think about you or what they say about you when you are not in the room. That is what the brand is about. So it has to create that perception, a positive perception about your company, and that is what your brand is. It's kind of difficult to get that position, but it is interesting how you can get it. So branding has been there for a long period of time. As I said, 100 years ago, the branding started by actually creating an identity. This is basically branding a cow. This is how the branding started. So they used to put these marks on cow, burn marks on tattoos kind of a thing on the cow, which actually identified their cows from their neighbors' cows. So that's how branding started, that this is our cow, identity. So branding's first objective is to create an identity for yourself or your brand or your business. That is the main core objective of your identity, of the brand. Nowadays, we have the same branding in a different way. A lot of people have branded tattoos on their bodies. It's kind of similar to what people used to do 100 years ago. Branding is all about stories also. You know, brands are also they are stories, because every company has a story. It has a life cycle. Every company, whichever company you see Coca-Cola, you see McDonald's, you see Apple. Every brand has a story. It starts somewhere. It grows slowly, steadily grows. Sometimes it has downfalls. Sometimes again it grows up. So there's a story which is going on, and every brand is a story. And what story that we are writing about our brand is going to define what people are going to think about us. Again, what people are thinking about us. So that is the story that we are writing. So branding is about stories. Branding is about competitive advantage. Why? Because people are doing multiple things. There are so many competitors out there. How are you going to tell people that we are better than our competitors? How are you going to tell them that we are we'll do something different than what our competition is doing? So competitive advantage is something that our brand gives us. You know? That is, we are a bit different than what our competition is, and we are much better than what they are. That competition advantage, that is something differentiating factor is brand. Perception, as I said, what people think about you. What people, any brand you take and you think about that particular brand in a particular way, that is their brand. Reputation. There are so many cases you must have seen that the companies actually face a reputation problem. And then people say that their brand is affected. Their brand has been compromised. Their brand is being, their reputation has been destroyed. So how you build that reputation also builds the perception in the minds of the people. So that reputation is also very important. And that's something which we can achieve through branding. Brands are also about ideas. Brand is about new upcoming things. You cannot have a brand which is just going on there for age old processes and tactics. They need to come up with new ideas, innovative ideas all the time. That is how you survive. That is how the brand will survive. That is how your product will innovate itself. So the new ideas that keep on coming up, that is also branding. There is no brand which is successful without ideas. And finally, brand is design, because you identify it with it, right? There's a logo, there's a design, there's a communication design, there's a UX UI design, there's a website, there is a brochure, there's an advertising. There's so much of design involved into every brand to create that perception in the minds of the people. So how do you create that perception? Through design. And when you have a strong design, your brand will also become stronger and stronger. So that's what brand is. One of the aspects of the brand is design. And finally, experience. So for example, you have a brand like Airtel, for example. Most of you must be using Airtel or Vodafone or Jio something. So you experience that brand. How do you experience that brand? You go to a store, you watch the ad on the television, you actually buy it, you see the packaging, the packaging is in your hands, then you take out the SIM card, put it in your phone, and then you start using it. Then you get some customer care messages, then they'll give you some offers. You will start using it. The service is good, service is bad. It's all about experience. It's all you're experiencing the brand throughout its usage. So that the experience has to be created by somebody. It's not going to happen on its own. And that's how branding helps to create this experience. And that experience is going to again form the perception in the minds of the people. And why do we want this perception in the minds of the people? Why do we want this positive perception in the minds of the people? It's simple. Because we want them to buy our product. It's as simple as that. And for them to buy our product, you need to create that experience, very good experience for them, happy experience for them. And basically, it's what you stand for. This is the final thing about the brand. What you stand for. Why is it important what you stand for? Because I think brand is the most important thing. If you don't stand for anything, your brand is not going to exhibit those qualities. Take a simple example. Brand is like a human. Human being has values. Human being has personality. Human being has some kind of a vision. Human being projects himself in a particular way, presents himself in a particular way. Brands do exactly the same. Human beings also stand for something really, really core to their belief. And that is what brands also do. They stand for something core to their belief. I'll share you some examples what I'm saying to make it clear. What do Gandhiji stand for? He stands for peace. That is his brand. Gandhiji's brand is peace because he stands for that particular thing. Obama probably was standing for change. So that is his brand. And he also used to do a campaign around change. So I probably, yes. Sachin Tendulkar, arguably, a lot of people think different about this. But for me, I think he stands for precision. The shots that he played, I think that was his brand, precision. I think Steve Jobs stood for intellect, for whatever he projected himself as, kind of an intellect kind of a brand. Probably Osama bin Laden was standing for terrorism. That is his brand. Oprah Winfrey, probably respect that she actually owned and she gave people. So that was her brand. Shah Rukh Khan, probably romance. I don't know what this guy stands for. You might know it better. Probably nothing. So I always say that people don't buy your brand. They buy into your brand. That's very important. So people will not buy the product. They will just buy the experience around it. They will think about the product or the brand of what exactly it gives me more than what the usual benefit is. For example, I have an iPhone. I could buy any other phone, but I like iPhone because it gives me a kind of a status symbol. It gives me a bit of a feeling that it represents me. So that's something that it's more than what the product is. So I'll use the phone as I'll use a Samsung phone or any other phone. But it just gives me much better feeling to have an iPhone in my hand. I think that is how I will buy into the brand rather than just the brand. Let's see what the companies stand for. Some of the companies, what they stand for. The Coca-Cola stands for happiness. That is what their brand is. That is what they project. Now the question is that do we, as audience of Coca-Cola, do we, as the target audience of Coca-Cola, do we see that and feel that happiness when we drink Coca-Cola? Do we feel that yes, this is the brand that Coca-Cola exhibits? This is what they say, but what do we feel is also important. So the matching of what company is saying about their brand and what audience is feeling about that, customers are feeling about that, is somewhere the brand lies in between, somewhere there. There's a brand called Godrej. I think it talks about brighter living because it does all these consumer products and makes your living better and brighter. That is what their brand stands for. There's Tata's. It stands for trust. They've always stood for trust. I'm sure everybody on this panel would agree that they do stand for trust. There's a trust that Tata's built in their brand. And they also talk about it. Their brand idea is about trust. Reliance Industries, it's about growth. Their tagline is growth is life. And I think they do stand for growth the way they have grown themselves and the shareholders, the stakeholders, and the services that they provide everywhere. I think they do stand for growth. There's a brand called Sony. Nowadays, we don't see much Sony, but they used to be one of the first brands who actually were talking about miniature perfection. Everything smaller they used to make. They used to make Walkmans and small cameras and small phones and everything. So they stood for miniature perfection. That is what they stood for. That is what their brand was. IBM, it's a B2B brand. It's a business-to-business brand. It's not very consumer-oriented brand, but they recently, a few years back, they rebranded and they stood for Smarter Planet. They said, we'll change the planet. We'll change everything about this planet. And then we would stand for Smarter Planet. We'll make a planet more smarter. And that is what they're doing through technology that they are building, through the processes that they're building, multiple things that they do. They will focus on making the planet more smarter. So what are the brands? Brands can be anything, like people can be brands, process like celebrities and sports stars. We call them personal brands, so people brands. Then there are processes in terms of the company processes, ISO or fair trade. You must have heard about these things, these processes. They can be branded as well. Technology. Is technology a brand? Yes, Android, Mac, OS, Sierra, whatever, all the softwares. So basically, a brand is what has its own identity, stands for something, believes in a philosophy, and has a logo and a design, and it's operated. Like it's being used by people. The technology is all Android has a logo, Mac OS has the logo, Sierra has the logo. Events. There is a lot of events that we see in this world. FIFA, Olympics, Burning Man Festival. Events can be brands. Characters can be brands. Batman is a character. It has become such a huge brand all over the world. Pikachu, for example, is one of the brands, or any cartoon characters for that matter. They have become brands. There is a lot of merchandise available of these brands. There are non-profits who are brand, non-profit organizations like Red Cross or Greenpeace. They're also brands. We call them NGOs and non-profits, but they are still brands at the end of the day. They have been managed by somebody. There are medias like BBC, New York Times, WhatsApp. These are the medias which we communicate stuff to people, but they're also brands. They're government organizations. For example, Singapore Police Force. They have their own logo, their own identity. There's also a brand, right? Culture and arts. There's a lot of culture and arts that you must be knowing a lot of brands around culture and arts. YRF, for example, Yashraj Films. It's a culture and arts organization, but it's a brand at the end of the day today. Platforms like World Economic Forum or UN, United Nations, or now recently WHO, which is coming in front of everybody. These are all platforms. There are like forums. There are people coming together and forming something together, working together towards a goal, unified goal, and that becomes a brand. So people think about World Economic Forum in a particular way or United Nations in a particular way. That is their branding, right? There are places, destinations, nations that can also be brands. For example, Melbourne or Singapore. Melbourne is a city in Australia. Singapore is a country and city itself. They have branded themselves. They have their own logo. They have branded themselves. Why do they brand? Because they want to increase more tourism. They want to increase more investment, business investment in their country. So they brand themselves. They show that how vibrant we are and what are the things that we can offer, the multiple things that we can offer. So they brand themselves. They tell their message out there strongly that this is what we are, this is what we believe in, this is what we stand for. This is what our personality is. We are colorful, for example, for this Melbourne. For Singapore, it's all about we are dynamic. That's how the cities can brand themselves. This is one project which I had worked on. It was Bhutan, one of the projects which I did work on. The country of Bhutan. Country of Bhutan doesn't have gross domestic product. They calculate their growth in terms of gross domestic happiness. So how happy they are, that is going to define what their brand is and what their growth is going to be as a country. They're not going to count it in money. And then Bhutan can go into multiple dimensions in terms of branding themselves. They started doing some products. They started promoting themselves on websites and everywhere. They started putting happily made in Bhutan kind of a proposition out there, so that people buy a lot of goods from Bhutan, and then Bhutan can grow internally. It became a brand, and we started investing in that brand. They invested in money into that brand, and they started communicating it, and then it became a huge brand. Is this a brand or not? And what is this basically? This is something that we call as a user-generated brand. User-generated brand is basically a brand which is generated by somebody who and owned by somebody, and nobody knows who that is. So somebody has created this recycled logo, but entire world is now using this recycled logo. But nobody knows who has created it. Nobody is managing this brand. But is it a brand? Yes, it is a brand. It's a logo. It's being used by people. Stands for something. People believe in it. And people can use it anywhere they want to. That has become a symbol of recycle now. Very interesting kind of user-generated brand. So normally branding is all about your left brain and right brain. When it comes together, somewhere the brand idea lies, somewhere the brand comes together. Left brain is all about the real rational thinking, and right is all about creativity. You know about it much more than I do because you are in visual arts school. But I think both of these things have to come together when it comes to brand, because if you have only creativity and there's no rationality to it, it will become art. It will not become become branding, because branding also has a commercial point of view. It's only if it is only left brain and it's not right brain at all, there is no creativity at all, only rational thinking and strategy, then also it will not work, because then everything is really calculated and there is no emotion to whatever we are doing. But branding is all about emotions also, because emotions actually drive people to do what they do, and emotions drive people to take decisions of buying or not buying. As I said, people don't buy your brand, they buy into your brand. That is where the emotions play a part. Very interesting. So this is the model which I normally use for defining the brand or creating a brand. When a new brand is created, this is what I try to find out. What is the brand vision? What is the vision for the future? And what do you aspire to achieve through this brand? What is the brand positioning? How do you ultimately want to be seen in the eyes of your audience? Again, that perception part of it. How you're going to position yourself in the minds of the people. That is very important. Brand values, like a human being, again, I said, that every person has the values, the brand has values. It has to stand for something. It has to believe in something, some core things. There is a brand personality. How do you look? How do you speak? What is your personality? What is the language that you're using? What is how are you being identified by the people? What is your appearance? And finally, the brand idea. One thing, one inspiring idea that drives your business forward. That encapsulates all of these four things: brand, vision, positioning, values, and personality, and what that core thing about your brand is. I'll give you examples of these, some of these, so that you can understand it better. So for example, the brand vision. There's this company, if somebody can just write out which company is this. To be the Earth's, its vision is basically to be Earth's most customer-centric company, where people can find and discover anything they want to buy online. That is the vision of this company. Some people must have definitely identified it. It's Amazon, right? They're the most customer-centric. That is their vision. We want to be the most customer-centric company in the world. So there are brands which are driven by their vision. The entire thing about the branding idea and everything is driven by one core vision, and that is being customer centric. That is why the Amazon's entire brand idea also becomes more about customer centricity, right? I'll give you one more example about the Amazon itself. There is a very interesting how they become customer centric. So it's not just about being customer centric, it's about also living that customer centricity. How are you going to live that? It's just saying that yes, we are customer centric. It's not going to help. You have to actually, the company, the brand has to actually start thinking about how are we going to deliver on that customer centricity. So there is this very interesting few things about Amazon, that they have 2 days every 2 years. That what you have to do is every employee in Amazon, 2 days every 2 years, they have to do a customer facing role for 2 days. Even Jeff Bezos himself, he used to do 2 days customer facing customer service role at the end. You have to pick up calls of customers, talk to them, understand them, what they are thinking about, take their complaints. Every person in the office, right from the CEO to the to literally the delivery boy, everybody has to do 2 days every 2 years in the customer centric role. Very interesting. They do have a lot of Amazon innovations that they do. So to make it easy for customers, they do everything. For example, now they have started delivering the packages through drones to make it easy and make it much more faster for the customers. Again, is it making it customer centric company? Yes, it is. They started something called as Amazon recommendations. So this started right at the start when Amazon was only a book website, bookstore. And they started doing these recommendations. What are the recommendations? That if you have read this book, these are the books that you will like. Now we see it everywhere. Now we see it on Instagram. Now we see it everywhere. Every second website is doing that. But it was started by Amazon. And when they started it, it was all about customer centricity. The customer would understand and would want us to recommend it, what I should read. This is customer centric thinking and making life easy for the customer. And finally, there is this empty chair over here, which is kept. So this is a very cool concept. Jeff Bezos had this rule in Amazon that every conference, every meeting that they have, the board meeting that they have, they will have an empty chair in the conference room. That empty chair is of customer. So whatever you will discuss and decide, finally you will ask the empty chair. You will not ask the empty chair. You will take a point of view of customer, thinking about that the empty chair is the customer sitting over there internally. So that's a very great thinking about how people think in terms of customer centricity. And finally, there's a 2 pizza rule, which is not about customer centricity really, but I really like this 2 pizza rule that they have teams internally in the organization which they organize. And the rule is that the team should be as big as they should be able to finish 2 pizzas. It cannot be bigger than that, or it cannot be smaller than that. It has to be this, the team size has to be around 6 to 7 people. The 2 pizzas they should be able to finish. It's quite interesting. Now, this is another brand which I'm talking about today, is to accelerate the world's transition and to sustainable transport. That is the vision of this company. A lot of people might have already identified which is the company which is saying to accelerate the world's transition, not just their countries, their companies, the world's transition to sustainable transport. And that is Tesla. Now everybody knows Tesla. When they started with this vision, they actually were thinking about making sustainable transport. And now they want to make the entire world sustainable. It's a very purposeful kind of a vision, very kind of a good kind of a vision. They want to do something better for the world, they want to do something purposeful for the world. That is what they're trying to do. So and to do that, what are they doing? The Elon Musk, who is the CEO of Tesla, the owner of Tesla rather now, what is he doing? He started making everything open source. Like all the software that is used in Tesla or the manufacturing of Tesla is open source. So anybody can tomorrow start a company, copy the software and start the company. He has kept it open source. He said, if I want to make the entire world sustainable, and should be more people who should be doing the same thing what I am doing. Until I'm doing that, the people are not going to use it. It's not going to transition the world. It will be only my company will be transitioned to sustainability. The entire world, he has to make everything open source. He made everything open source. And he's putting charging stations and battery stations everywhere, all over the US first, and then he started doing it in all the Western countries also. Eventually, when they will launch in India, they will do that also over here. And these were the trendsetters. They started it, and they were the first, safest, and the fastest. That is what they started with. They became the trendsetters for this kind of a business. And finally, customer input. He takes all the customer inputs seriously. Anybody can tweet to Elon Musk that I have a suggestion about this particular thing about Tesla cars or anything, and he will take that input. He will actually use that input. He will reply to you, and he will actually use that input in the organization and make those changes if the inputs are really good inputs, not the crazy inputs. But he will do actually something like that. So it's a very interesting kind of how they are transitioning to the. So again, the company is focused on its vision. The entire brand is focused on what the vision is. Now we see what brand positioning. There are some brands who are more focused on the positioning part of it. Who are those brands? This Tata Nano, for example. Tata Nano was positioned as actually a disaster case study rather than a good case study. Tata Nano actually, when it came to the market, it positioned itself as the cheapest car in the world. That is how they positioned itself. That is what people started thinking in their mind. It is the cheapest car in the world. It created excitement and everything at the start, but nobody bought it. I mean, people bought it, but very less people bought it for what they expected. It was the cheapest car in the world. People were really crazy about that concept of being the cheapest car in the world. 1 lakh rupee car. It's not a joke. But for Indians, it was a joke, because Indians people, it was the first car. Tatas want to create that car for the people who are using two-wheelers. That is them. They were the target audience. For them, it was the first car. Does any person who wants to own a first car would say, "Yeah, I own the cheapest car in the world"? It is a status symbol for the people. It is something that they would want to be like proud about. They would earn and save money for that 1 lakh rupee. Also, they must have saved for a long period of time to buy it. Then they don't want to sit in a car which is saying that I'm the cheapest car in the world. So that was the biggest disaster of Tata Nano. And first, initially, they did not identify it. They should have positioned it in a different way. They should have positioned it as a second car. They should have positioned it as a youth car. They should have positioned it as a city car. Anything they could have done. But they chose, we are the cheapest car in the world. It was a positioning disaster. Initially, they did not agree that, but later on, Ratan Tata himself said that yes, it was a positioning strategy failure. So how do you position your brand? What do you tell people that this is what we stand for is very important, because people will start thinking that, and people will create their own perceptions about it. There's a very interesting case study of how these three brands came to India and failed. When Coca-Cola came to India, Coca-Cola positioned itself as a next kind of a youth cola brand. And what they did was they bought Thumbs Up in India, and then they stopped the brand Thumbs Up. But they did not know that Thumbs Up people really loved in India. So people really said, no, we don't want to have Coca-Cola. We want our Thumbs Up back. So Coca-Cola had to shut down all its plants, go back to US, and then come back with a new strategy where they restarted Thumbs Up and then restarted Coca-Cola and then built from there. It was a failure when it first came to India. It's an amazing case study. McDonald's, when it came to India, it got a beef burger. And it did not work in India. The beef burger would never work in India at that particular time when it launched. Nowadays, we do get beef burgers in many of the states. But now McDonald's at that time was a disaster. Then they went back to US, and then they came back with a new strategy and relaunched in India, and saying that we have got you a Mac Aloo Tikki Maharaja Aloo Tikki burger. That's how they survived. Kellogg's came to India and told India to eat cereal or cornflakes with cold milk. Indian people don't eat breakfast cold. Indian people like hot breakfast. So what did Kellogg's do? It was a failure. They went back, and then they changed the strategy, and then they came up with an advertising campaign, relaunched and came up with an advertising campaign that you will put hot milk into the cereal. So India is the only country in the entire world who puts hot milk in cereal and has it. So we are unique in that way. It's kind of interesting case study over there. So it's all about how you position yourself, how you tell people what the story is about. Very important. I'll just skip through this one. Actually, it's a bit longer, and I don't know how much time we have. So I'm just going to skip through this one. I'll just go to the brand values. Brand values is what you stand for, what you believe in. It's a very interesting kind of aspect and interesting kind of element of the brand, that is brand values. So this was a brand which was used to call themselves, these are the 4 brand values of this brand. Wholesome American values was the first value. Second was no cynicism. The third value of this brand was creativity, dreams, and imagination. Can anybody identify which brand is this? Probably. And the fourth brand value was magic. So I am not able to see the, actually, if somebody has written it something in the chat, but no, I don't think so. But actually this brand is, some of you must have identified it. It is Disney. This is the brand. So now we go back to these values and see wholesome American values, tick. Is Disney doing that? Yes. No cynicism, tick. Is Disney doing that? Yes. Creativity, dreams, and imagination, it's all about Disney. You can never imagine any other brand talking about creativity, dreams, and imagination. Probably Apple somewhere, but not so much. Magic. Nobody can own magic. So these are the brand values that are owned by the brand. You can identify with those values. The brand has to be identifying with those values. There is this brand called United Airlines in US. And there was this very interesting case study of United Breaks guitars. So basically United Airlines, there was this YouTuber who actually was traveling through United Airlines, and then he just, his guitar was thrown. He saw that the people who he saw through the window, he saw that the transport people are actually throwing his guitar, and then he realized that it has broken. And he went to United Airlines and said that my guitar is broken and you have to pay me back for it. Okay, somebody has, okay. If you have questions, you may pose them. Okay, thanks. So, and then, sorry. So then he said that you need to pay back my guitars. And then United Airlines said, no, we don't, I mean, it's not broken by us and we don't care about it. And he said, I saw that. They actually threw my guitar. And they said, no, the United Airlines said no. So what he did was he went to the YouTube. This was in very initial stages of YouTube, when actually YouTube was very new. And he posted a song that United Breaks Guitars. It became a viral song. It was like n number of views at that particular time. This count over here, 19 million is the recent count. But that time it was really, really interesting. And United Airlines shares started falling because of this particular song. And that's how then United Airlines said, okay, we will pay back whatever you have. And then they paid back all of those things. Okay, what does your brand stand for? Does it have values or not? Does it have ethics or not? What are you standing for? Will you break guitar or will you give it back to the owner? Very interesting how the values work. Brand personality. How do you look? How do you speak? What is your personality of your brand? There's this interesting case study of Apple. So these are the words of, there's a website called Brand Clouds, in which you just put up a name of a brand, and then it will give you the words that people are talking about this particular brand. So what are people talking about Apple? They're talking about Apple is Mac, cool, iPod, design, computer, awesome, innovative, computers, innovation. So these are the highest said things about Apple. But there are some few things about Apple which they are not okay also. They're calling it pretentious, for example, over here. They're calling it a cult. There are some negative also things about Apple, but most of the people are thinking positive about it. So this is the personality of Apple. This is coming out as the personality traits. Every person has a personality trait. So these are the personalities. A person can be a simple person can be an angry person can be a smart person. These are the things about Apple's personality. Do we feel those when we actually experience the brand? Yes, probably yes. We do think that Apple is very, very well designed thing, or it's a very innovative product, or of course it's an expensive product also. And people love Apple. So there's a lot of similarity between what personality Apple is trying to project and what people are thinking. There's this brand called Innocent. Innocent Drinks is a UK-based brand in which sorry. So now we have seen one of the Paperboat as a brand. It has copied everything from Innocent. So we like Paperboat. Everybody loves Paperboat as a brand and design what they have created, but they actually have copied everything from Innocent. And it's very interesting that in the winters, what they do is these juice bottles, they put these small caps, woolen caps on in the departmental store, in the rack of the departmental store. It just creates a different kind of a feeling. When all juice bottles, and then you have these small bottles which have these small wooden caps on it, because they are projecting a personality that we are innocent, we are sweet, we are cute. That is what their brand's personality is. The design also, if you will see, it's very innocent design. It's very simple and minimalist design that they are trying to use. And then this innocently, they're making these puns where stop looking at my bottom. It's very interesting. So this is the personality that they are projecting out of their brand. So this is very self-explanatory again. What the personality of the brand is: small but tough polo. So all the police officers are behind the polo itself, because the personality of the polo is that it's small but tough. It's an advertisement, of course. It's not actually a brand design or something, but it's still telling people that this is our personality, right? So design or the logo or the visual identity is the way we dress our brand. That is very important. So the personality, when you have a personality trait, how are you going to project it? Through design. Through what design, how you design your brand, how you design your logo, how you design your everything about of your brand. So for example, if you see this graphic, you immediately recognize that it is a Coca-Cola graphic. You immediately think that, oh, this is Coca-Cola, but it's just a red color screen and there's a white band into it. But now you can identify the brand through design, because its personality is coming out through this particular graphic. No? And then if you go further, then you will find that, okay, there's much more to visual identity system of Coca-Cola. There is much more that you can see into it, whatever there is. So then it becomes a huge personality of this brand, and this brand becomes full-fledged. But it's still, the basic aspect is that swoosh or that band of white color band on red. That is what Coca-Cola is. And finally, the brand idea. I think we come to finally what is the inspiring idea that drives your business forward. That is something that we need to think of. Are there any examples of it? But before going to the examples, we'll see how the brand idea is created, or what is brand idea. So it's simple, as this Venn diagram shows. What is wrong with the world and what is special about you? What is wrong with the world? What is there is a problem and the gap existing in the world, and what is special about you? How are you going to solve this gap? What are you making effort to actually make this gap go away? That is your brand idea. It's simple. It's not a rocket science, but it's still a bit of a difficult aspect when it actually comes to defining what that brand idea is. So for example, Google is one of my favorite brands. What is this brand idea? Organizing world's information. So whatever Google does, it will think about, are we organizing world's information? That is the core to their brand. That is their soul of their brand. That is something that they believe in. So if you see Gmail, is Gmail organizing world's information? Probably yes. Google Maps, is Google Maps organizing world's information? Yes. Android, is Android organizing world's information? Anything that you take from Google. Google Glasses, is it organizing world's information? Yes. Everything that they do is basically organizing world's information and making it accessible to everybody. That is what they are doing. So that is their core. That is their brand idea. Their tagline is different. Their tagline is do no evil. Tagline does not need to be brand idea. Brand idea is something that is core to your organization. It does not need to be projected and told to everybody in the world. But you have to believe into it so that people know about it automatically. That is what brand idea is. Sustainable future. Tesla's, as we rightly said, that their brand idea is connected to their vision of creating that sustainable world. So sustainable future is their brand idea, as they call it. This is a very interesting one, which I had worked on as well. I got a chance to work on this small project as well. The Louis Vuitton of coffee, Nespresso. So they are calling themselves the Louis Vuitton of coffee. Louis Vuitton is a very expensive, high-end luxury brand. And that is what they want to bring, that aspect, that personality of that luxury and glamour into coffee. And that is why their brand idea is Louis Vuitton of coffee. Very interesting kind of a brand. That is their stores. So the something not a usual store of a coffee store. Does it feel like a coffee store? It's something very unique and very luxurious. That is what they want to build. This is, I'm just wondering how much time do we have? 3:51.
So we have roughly 10-15 more minutes.
Perfect. I'll just share 2 case studies with you.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is, King. King is basically, you must have seen this logo, whoever played Candy Crush. So this is the parent company of Candy Crush, which actually was one of my projects which I had worked on. And King came to us when I was in London at that time, and King came to us and said that we want to go for an IPO. IPO is initial public offering where people actually are going public basically. So they wanted investment from all the big investors, and they wanted to put their brand out and company in the market, and that is why they came to us. And then we rebranded them. We created this new logo for King because first it was King.com. We removed .com and said, okay, now your brand will not be called .com, it will be called King. And what is the why is it going to be called King? So basically, what had happened is before King went to IPO, there was a company called Zynga, which was again a gaming company. It went for an IPO, and Zynga actually failed. The IPO failed because they could not raise money as much as they wanted to. Because Zynga had one game which was Farmville. You must have heard of this game, Farmville. So Farmville was a flagship game of Zynga, and Farmville was very famous. So Zynga said, let's go for an IPO and tell people we are owners of the Farmville and we need money to grow, and so buy our shares. But people and investors did not buy Zynga. Why? Because people realized that Zynga has Farmville as one game, but they don't have any other game. There's only one product. They don't have a portfolio of products. Tomorrow, if Farmville will go away, which did go away, now nobody knows Farmville. Where is it? Nobody plays Farmville now. So when it goes away, what is the next step? How is this company going to grow? How is this brand going to grow? That was the challenge. And then King was going to go for an IPO. Same gaming company has one flagship brand called Candy Crush, very, very famous. Again, the same case study. But we knew from Zynga's case study that we need to change something. So what we did was we created a portfolio of products, different products. Sorry about that. So we created a portfolio of different products. So we created this Bubble Saga and different sagas, and then we started building the value of those particular brands individually. Candy Crush was famous. It's still famous. It is one of the most played mobile games in the world today also, and it has 97 million players. So it's very interesting. And then we kind of try to build whatever the user base of all other brands as well. And then we went to the market and said, okay, this is what we are doing. We are creating this new concept of snackable entertainment. What is snackable entertainment? This is a concept that we created. Snackable entertainment is basically if you are sitting on at a bus stop and you just open a packet of Ruffle Lays and just eat that packet for a very small snack. Similarly, you are sitting on the bus stop and just play one Candy Crush game or one Bubble Saga game, and that's entertainment. So it's a snackable entertainment. That's a concept that we created, and then we took that to the customers or that investors that we were targeting. And we decided that whatever you are going to do, it has to happen in 3 minutes. Every game should finish in 3 minutes. And today also, all of these games, maximum 3 minutes, unless you are taking too long, but it should finish in 3 minutes. Either you win or you lose, but it has to finish in 3 minutes. That is how snackable entertainment has to come to life. That's how we created this game. And the brand idea of King.com finally became bite-sized brilliance. That every bite size has to have brilliance. Why bite size? Because bite is one of the core identifiers of the gaming industry or online industry. So bite size brilliance, and we have bite size is again the small snackable entertainment. It's again about the 3 minutes strategy. So bite size brilliance became the hardcore cry of this brand inside brand idea. And then we started thinking of how to bring these moments of magic to everyone's life every day. So what it means to the players, what it means to their people internally in the organization, and what it means to the investors. So all of these different target audience is bite-sized brilliance true to all of them. That is what we started thinking. And then we made it kind of aligned to all of their goals and their achievements that they would want. And then we created a campaign around it. The campaign was the best stories that really short. So 6-word stories. That is what the campaign that we created for them. It was a very interesting and very challenging kind of a campaign because you have to tell all the stories in 6 words. So every campaign has to have only 6 words. And then we tried to do few of them. Speed up, phone out, game on. That is what we required. 3 minutes, snackable entertainment. Speed up, phone out, game on. Do you understand it from this creative? Yeah, it's very quick to understand. It's easy to understand. Get it message out there. New game, New York, new level. Stop Blue, 3 minutes, 6-word stories. This was that we did. And then we King rebranded and went for the IPO. So they raised more that they had expected. It was a very successful brand, and we got awards for recognition for the so interesting case. I'll just more. India's largest. This was the brand which, when they came to us, industries, billionaire, as people call him, when they came with the.
Excuse me, sir, just 1 second. Your voice is cracking a little bit.
Cracking?
Yes. It was okay, it just started cracking with last slide.
Should I?
I think maybe that would work. So can you unmute yourself again and then we can try?
Now is it okay? Audible?
Yes, now it is perfect.
Perfect. Sorry about that. I don't know what had happened. So Mukesh Ambani, as he's called unloved billionaire, he actually came to us and with a new proposal to create a 4G brand in India. The problem was that there was 3G which was launched at that particular time. This was 2012, and then he wanted to launch 4G at that particular time. And then he said to us that we want to make this company bigger than Apple and Google. And we're like, how can you make a company bigger than Apple and Google by selling 4G telecommunication services? Because 3G people are not buying because it was expensive. And then we are bringing 4G, which is going to be more expensive. And then how people are going to buy all of this? And when people are not going to buy it, how are we going to become more bigger than Apple and Google? So it's not possible. That is what we were thinking, but that was his vision. That is what he told us. This is what you need to do. So that is what the brief was. And then we came up with did a lot of research, and we came up with this key insights that in India, there is a different mindset. This was in 2012. If you remember that time, we used to have missed calls. It was a missed call culture. That we used to give missed call, I'm coming late. I'll just give 1 missed call. I'll give 2 missed calls if I'm just, I'm downstairs. I'll give 2 missed calls. So everybody had their own missed call language. So we used to do that. Why did we do that? Because we were very economically minded people. We are very economically. We don't want to waste money on texting. We did not want it to. Now everything is free. WhatsApp and everything is free. So we don't think so much. But that time we used to think about it. Ki ek text ka there will be 1 rupee or 2 rupees which will go. So we used to think about that. So that was one of the insights that we found, that missed call culture exists in India. The second insight was basically that people use personal hotspot. So they buy 3G. One of the friend will buy a 3G, and then everybody will do a personal hotspot with him. Everybody will not buy 3G. They will just personal hotspot with him. That's a very interesting kind of insight. Nowadays we don't even know or think about personal hotspot because everybody has got internet in their phone. But that time personal hotspot was a very hot kind of a topic. And then again, as I said, 3G was not picking up. And the fourth was that people were really, there was a youth power kind of a thing which was growing in India at 2012, 2013. That is where we needed to actually reach out to all of them. So we said, how are we going to create this brand? Because this is the brand which actually is supposed to reach to the bottom of the pyramid. For example, a farmer, if he's going to use your phone, Reliance phone, how is he going to use it? What is he going to do? Is he going to think about a fastest streaming service or something like that? Or is he going to think about that? He's going to sit under a tree and look at the videos? No, probably not. He's going to actually think about what is going to help me? How am I going to benefit from this particular 4G service? Am I going to get my food, like live rates for the food grains? And then there's going to a truck which is going to come and I can just load my stuff into it and I get the best price, cutting out all the middlemen. That is what his benefit is. So if you want to go to the bottom of the pyramid, you need to start thinking differently. You need to start thinking very, very uniquely and innovatively. So that is what we came about. The question was about, is it about speed or something else? And then we came about this entire idea of empowerment. That if we empower people, that is where they are going to buy your phone. If we don't empower them, they will not have anything to buy. So that farmer, if we empower him, if we give them those applications, if we give them support, that is how he is going to be able to pay for our phone. Otherwise, he's not going to just see HD videos and enjoy himself. That is not the objective. And that is why if you're going to empower them, first you need to reduce the prices and make it cheap and make it extremely affordable to people. And that is what we did. So the idea, the entire brand idea of Jio brand was empowerment. It was about empowering Indian people to create their own future, the entire statement. But the idea was empowering people. And when that started thinking, and then came all the other stuff, that it became how you create opportunities for people, how you create education for people, how you create entertainment avenues for people, how you create healthcare for people, all of the stuff that started coming. I'll not go through the entire one because we are a lack of time, but if somebody is interested, I will be happy to show them later on and take them through the case study. And then we came up with this freemium strategy. Freemium was free plus premium, that is called freemium. And basically making, for example, at that particular time, so any service, if you see, Google, for example, if you take, it is a freemium model. The search engine is free, but still Google is one of the richest companies in the world. It is making money. So it's making money from alternative revenue like ads and everything else. But what it is, basic service for the customers, it's free. Facebook, timeline, it's free. WhatsApp, it's free. So what are we, so how can we adopt this premium strategy somewhere? So the main thing about phone is calling. So you make calling free. And then you charge for the internet, data and all other things. But the main thing is calling should be free. That is what they did. They made the calling free, and that is what the pricing strategy changed. And everything around the brand changed. Does this pricing strategy actually empower people? Yes. That again goes to the brand. That again goes to branding, the empowerment, brand idea. That is what they did. And that this was the initial logo that we created. And then they later on changed it to the round logo. So live it your way, that was the idea initially. I came up with this name, Jio, J-I-O. It basically means live and live it your own way. And you all know about Jio, so I'll not take you through it. There's very interesting. This was empowerment of people, right? So the font that we designed for them, the font and the identity that we designed for them was something that can be created by your hand. So the hand gesture or whatever you can do with on an iPad with your finger, that was the font that we created for them, because this was the brand that was given to the people. It was the people brand, and that is why.
Sandeep sir, you're not audible at the moment.
I think there is some technical error.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I think the screen share actually went off somewhere. I'll try to share it again. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
The entire screen just froze. So
sorry about that.
yeah,
I don't know.
that's okay. No, we can't
glitches.
win over the technology always. That's
Absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely. So that's how the Jio brand was born. So just wanted to share that case study with you. And that's it for me today. Thank you so much for attending. I hope you got some of the insights from this presentation.
Thank you so much, sir. And definitely, it was a very insightful presentation, and it is always privileged to listen to you. And as you said, while mentioning that left and right brain, the creativity along with the rational and the rational along with creativity creates a good design, creates a good brand. And I think that is one thing that even at School of Visual Arts, we make sure that students understand, and you just highlighted that part. So I think you have made our job a little easier. So that is because that is a very important part, I believe. And thanks for sharing it. And again, you talked about the perceptions, the value that stand for something, which is very important. Like when it comes to brand, it has to stand for something. And the empty chair was very like we were not aware of that, so that was a very interesting addition. And I think two pizza rule, uh, the students will start acknowledging it,
Implementing it.
implementing it definitely with lot of things. So
So I just forgot to ask if anybody has any questions.
yes, I was just coming to there that if anybody has any questions, you can please raise your hand and you can ask, or you can type it in the chat box. I think most of the things were very self-explanatory. And when we talk about brands, we see this everywhere. And branding is something we need to learn, like why it is done in a certain way. And I
Yeah.
believe that you just explained it very beautifully as always. So I will just see. I don't see any questions in the chat
So
box.
no questions has two reasons, where they
Yes,
have not understood anything or they have understood everything. So I hope it's the latter one.
yes, yes, definitely. So moving on, because we are in short of time also, we are
Yes.
already ahead of the time, but then discussing branding, discussing design, discussing art never can be bounded to specific time or an hour. And thank you so much, sir, for coming here today. And
My
along with
pleasure.
that, I just wanted to tell you and everyone that branding is one of the specializations that we offer uh, here in the School of Visual Arts under the degree of Applied Arts. So it is one of the subjects that we teach, and we believe that everybody has to create their own brand as a artist, as a designer when it comes to their work. And we try to inculcate everything that you just explained to us every day in the student's life. So I think this conversation never ends here. Maybe we can have an interaction face to face in the classroom really soon. So
Hope
thank you
so.
so much, Sandeep sir, for coming today and talking to all of us. And over to you, Isha, for the further
Thank you
procession.
for inviting me.
So it was indeed a great honor to listen to you, Sandeep. And as we have came to the end of the session, we will conclude the session with our Poseidon, which is the tradition you can make it.
Before we start with Poseidon, I would like to formally thank everyone who's present online and on Facebook Live today. On behalf of MIT WPU School of Visual Art, Dr. Shruti Nigurkar, who is head of school, and our dynamic director, Guru Prasad Rao sir, who's always been supportive, and to all the founder members and Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. R.M. Chitnis. So thanks to everyone, and thank you again formally to Sandeep Dighe for making your time available for us and having this conversation with us today. So thank you so much. I would now request the technical team to play Poseidon for everyone.
Oh,
Okay, before we move, we have one like Prachi Trifaye ma'am, who's assistant professor at School of Visual Arts, has written something in the chat box. I would like to read it for everyone. It was a very informative session and well explained case studies. And thank you so much, sir. And we have another one thing from the students who are present in the class, that they love the session and they knew about the brands, but they didn't knew where the brands are coming from. So they're really glad to know all of
Thank you
those
so much.
details. Isha,
Tanvi, just
yes, sir.
one suggestion is that if somebody wants to know more about branding and some more about brands or have any questions, please give them my details and happy to help anyone.
Definitely, definitely. That would be really great. Thank you so much. Isha,
Pleasure.
can we play the Pasada? Okay.
आता विश्वात्मके देवे येने वाग्यज्ञे तोषावे तोषोनि मज द्यावे पसाय दान जे खळांची व्यंकटी सांडो तया सत्कर्मी रतिवाढ भूता परस्परे पडो मैत्र जीवांचे दुरिताचे तिमिरदा विश्वस्वधर्म सूर्ये पाहो जो देवांशील तो तेलाहो प्राणी जात वर्षत सकळ मंगळी ईश्वर निष्ठांची मांदियाळी अनवरत भूमंडळी भेट तू भूता चला कल्पतरूंचे आरव चेतना चिंतामणीचे गाव बोलते जे अर्णव पियुषाचे चंद्रमे जे अनांतन मार्तंड देता पहिन ते सर्वाही सदा सज्जन सोय रे हो तू किंबहुना सर्व सुखी पूर्ण होनी सिही लोकी भजिजो आदि पुरुषी अखंडित आणि ग्रंथोपजीविये विशेषी लोकीये दृष्टादृष्ट विजये हो आवे जी येथ म्हणे श्री विश्वेश्वराव हा होईल दान पसाव येणे वरे ज्ञान देवो सुखिया झाला
Thank you so much, technical team. Thank you so much, students, all the attendees, and Sandeep sir. Thank you, Pallavi ma'am, for moderating. And we conclude today's SOVA talks here. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Sandeep sir. It was a pleasure.